All right. Are we ready?
No. All right, now I'm ready.
Okay.
Sorry, I just had to roll over.
I'm gonna turn my face cam off for this presentation so you can see my PowerPoint in its full glory. But
Why do you turn it on?
it's on automatically.
Well, shut it off.
I did. All right. It's time. It's time for the lore of Dark Souls. I worked very hard on this. So let's begin. Okay, I want to make it clear, I'm not covering each game's lore, because each game has a story that adds more and more to the lore. I'm covering, like, the basic lore of the entire Dark Souls universe, and then briefly skimming over what the games are about. So, it's 40 slides, so buckle in, kids.
I'm buckled.
Buckle in. Okay, let's start with where it takes place. Let's start with the setting. Lordran? Yes, this is the city. It is the place where Dark Souls 1 and 2 take place. And it's very important. It is the city of the gods. It is the land of the gods. And we know for a fact there are other places outside of Lordran. Like, this is not the only place. One, because Dark Souls 3 takes place in a different place. And two, because we see lots of NPCs from places outside of this location. So, the fate of the world and thus the story revolve around this, because this is where the first flame is. It's where everything is. Okay, the world's creation. This is where shit gets real, everybody. So buckle up. First, there was nothing. The world was a stagnant, dark place with no beginning or end or time or existence. Things kind of just were, and it just kind of sucked a little bit.
Not unlike college.
Yeah, not unlike college. It sucked a little bit, not in the fun way. Then, kind of like the Big Bang, fire just came into being, and 4 very important people found this fire, and it led into what was known as the Age of Fire. But we'll get to that. Fire brought life and death and cold and warmth, and basically it made this stagnant world more diverse and brought meaning to the world and started to shape the world into what we see. It brought souls into the world, and souls are both what fuels the fire and a byproduct of the fire. It's kind of weird, but that's how it works. Souls are the means by which the flame changed the universe. It brought life to things. It is what allows people to think clearly. It is what allows people to live and exist. So very important. Let's talk about the lords and the lord souls. There are 4 lords. They were the first kings of Lordran and the world in general. They were attracted to the first flame, and they only knew darkness before the first flame, so obviously that's why they're attracted to it. The lords hold the large 4 original souls, which shape them into who they are. We'll cover who each of the lords are and some stuff that happened with them. Gwen is he's kind of the big bad of Dark Souls, but also a big good in Dark Souls. Everything in Dark Souls is yes, but also no. He is the big, and he's a big deal. And he found a light soul. Nito found the death soul. Nito is a very creepy man made of skeletons. Like his whole outfit, he's a skeleton. His whole outfit's made of skeletons. I don't know if I have a picture of him in this PowerPoint, but he's very scary. But he is like basically death itself, and found the death soul. And Gwen gave Nito a quiet domain for all the dead to rest in. So basically hell, or the underworld, whatever you want to call it. in return for Nito not bringing death to the gods in all of his family. Pretty sweet deal. Witch of Islith, she's fucking crazy. She creates creatures of chaos, which are just basically giant weird monsters that wreak havoc, and it's not a good thing. There's so much more additional lore to the Witch of Islith, but it's not really important to the main lore, so we're not going to cover it. But she's kind of just tolerated and allowed to exist despite being chaotic. And then we have Pygmy. Okay? This is important. Pygmy found the Dark Soul. Sound familiar? It should. Pygmy found the Dark Soul. Okay? And sorry, I lost my spot. So Pygmy then split the Dark Soul into pieces. The Dark Soul is directly what threatens Gwen's existence and the end of the Age of Fire, which I'll get to in a minute. But basically, Gwen and Pygmy don't really like each other, but Gwen he kind of tricked the Pygmies. He gave them a city and his youngest daughter and all these nice things. He gave them to the Pygmy Lords, which are the descendants of Pygmy, and the descendants of Pygmy are humans, okay? So Pygmy Lords, humans. So he gave the Pygmy Lords all these nice things, and while they were still weak and grateful for all these nice things, he sealed them in their dark fate and shackled them to their mortality. So he kind of tricked them, just a tad, and it's not very good. Kind of rude. We hate it when that happens. Okay, the gods and the lords are kind of the same thing, but we're going to talk about Gwen's pantheon here real quick. Gods are pretty much in this world just whatever humans believe a god to be. But there are Gwen and his 4 main children are definitely consistently referenced as gods, so we'll cover that. Gwen, we've already talked about. He found the light soul. He's a big deal. The Nameless King was his first son. He was outcast, and we don't know his name because his dad doesn't like him very much. He inherited the sunlight from his father and was a god of war, and he was outcast for allying himself with dragons. Like Dad, you know, dragons are pretty great, and he's like, get out of my house. Yeah. Gwenevere, big chest ahead, you know. Gwenevere is his. You know that reference now? Yes, it's his second daughter, and his second child rather, and his first daughter. And she was the Queen of Lothric, which is where Dark Souls 3 takes place, although we don't see her at that point because that's Lothric way past Guinevere's time there. Because Gwenevere, despite being the goddess of sunlight and fertility and bounty in her job, pretty much being to hold the world together and make sure things don't go south, she doesn't do that very well. So anytime anything gets bad, rather than try and save it or fix it, she kind of just packs her shit up and leaves. So she's been a father and a mother to many. She has lots of children, all with their own lore. None of it very important to the main lore. She's kind of a bitch, is basically her story. Filianora, I think is actually her name. I think I put Filianora by accident. Filianora. She's a direct reference to the movie Angel's Egg. The writer of Dark Souls really likes basically referencing old movies and stuff. And in that movie, the egg represents the hope that and faith that the child who holds it knows something's gonna hatch from it. And so the warrior wants to crack it open and see if there's something one way or the other, but she has faith that it will hatch. So that's what that represents. That's why she holds it. She represents faith. And Filianor is always asleep. She was given to the Pygmy Lords, if you remember that. Or was that Gwenevere? Hold on. Let me go back. His youngest daughter. Yeah, so Filianor. He gave them to her. She stops time from passing. As long as she is asleep, time will not pass. You wake her up in one of the games. It's very unfortunate. Gwendolyn, okay? Gwendolyn, the second sun and the dark moon. He's a shapeshifter and master of illusions. He was raised a female, despite being a male. Take that as you will. We love transgender pride since the beginning of the Dark Souls series. Love to see it. He's basically got these snake legs. He thinks he's very ugly, and honestly, if you ask me, he's very cool looking. But basically, he is kind of a troublemaker. He's the youngest child, master of illusions. That's all you really need to know. And the moon and the dark side. So he's basically the opposite of Gwen. The everlasting dragons are also an important theme in the lore. So, the original race of dragons were the only creatures that adapted to the light. Everything else kind of died and new things were formed. The dragons adapted to the light, forming new species of dragons, and we see those in the games. But the everlasting dragons are immortal because they have these stone scales that cover their body. Gwen's bolts of lightning that he can shoot, because he's a god, basically, can peel apart those scales and kill them. And he learned this from one of the dragons himself, and then hunted them down till extinction, which is what marks the beginning of the Age of Fire. Seath is the dragon that betrayed the other dragons because he was born without stone scales, and the best way I can put it is the other dragons were mean to him, so he got revenge by killing them all. And in return, he basically becomes the brother of Gwen and is given many things, including the hand of his first daughter and lots of other jazz. He becomes a duke. He gets lots of cool shit for completing the mission. But Gwen's kindness towards this dragon cost Gwen one of his companions who hated this dragon in particular. But the Age of Fire is very important and probably the biggest, most important thing about the lore. It's the golden age, it's the time period of the games. This is what the gods want. They don't want this to end, but the universe is designed so that eventually the first flame will die out and a second flame will rise after a period of darkness, and this is just the cycle of the world. But the lords obviously are enjoying themselves in this light and don't want to go back to the darkness, so they kind of have other plans. The chosen undead are the player characters, and you basically are dead and then you're undead, so you died and you're resurrected, and your job is to fulfill a legend, air quotes, that speaks of a chosen undead hero who will sacrifice themselves or risk their lives to maintain the eternal flame and better humanity and save everyone. But those legends are also probably made up by the gods to trick and lure them to Lordran so that they can continue the flame. Lords of Cinder are people who sacrificed themselves and their life to the first fire, thus linking the flame and the fire, allowing the Age of Fire to continue. It's speculated whether they die or just get extremely injured. I think that just depends on each Lord of Cinder, what happens to them. And their strength and their ability to survive bursting into fucking flames. Yeah. We know at least one of them survives it because there's an NPC in Dark Souls 3 that talks about the pain of linking the fire. That's the guy with no legs. Nostralicus. Okay, these are the ashen ones. This is who you play in Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 is very different.
Okay, hang on. It is worth pointing out that this character is not a representative sample of Dark Souls 3, and I intentionally made his face as ridiculous as the character creator would let me make.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
We'll talk about the dried up rasenness in a minute. But this is one of I think this is a great example of the character creation and how you can push its limits. So that's why I included it. Yeah.
All of the parameters and crank them up to the max. Then that's what you get.
You get Nostralicus. Ashen ones are people who were supposed to be Lords of Cinder, basically. So they were chosen undead who tried to link the fire, and they failed. So instead of bursting into flames, they shrivel up into ash, and they die. The Ashen ones are, there's lots of them, and they are brought back in Dark Souls 3 to force the Lord of Cinders, to, in their respective era, to fulfill their duty. So all the bosses in Dark Souls 3 are Lords of Cinders from times past who are brought back, and it's our job to tell them to chill the fuck out. Most of them. A lot of the bigger ones.
I think there are more that aren't Lords of Cinders than there are.
The ones that aren't, from my understanding, are like friends and companions of the Lords of Cinder. So, it's a whole thing.
James, speedrun.
I don't know how all of them are connected. I don't know all the companions, but I know there are like 5 Lords of Cinders and everything else is not Lords of Cinders.
Yeah.
There are more than 5 bosses.
Right. That's all Dark Souls 3 thing. All you need to know is that the Ashen ones are brought back in Dark Souls 3 to force the Lords of Cinders to fulfill their duties and do what they're supposed to do and link the fire. My mom. Okay. The Undead Curse is a thing that happens. It's not so great. Remember when? So.
The raisins.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. That's the next slide. Nostralicus comes back to that.
Oh, is the next slide? Okay.
Humans are the descendants of the Pygmy Lords, that were shackled to mortality by Gwen, and thus they received a curse that is not so great, called the Undead Curse. Because I typed the wrong Gwen there, but it's fine. Gwen's pantheon fears the dark. Gwen committed the first sin and shackled the darkness within man. How this works is man has the dark soul, right? That was split off to create humanity. So men are the dark soul. So what Gwen did is he put a ring of fire around the darkness of man that prevents their dark soul from leaking out into the world.
That was a real Johnny Cash move there.
Yeah. That's why you see this iconic ring, black hole with the ring throughout the game, as pictured here. So, the Pygmy Lords split it into fragments, creating humanity. The Pygmy Lords. The Pygmy Lords were the greatest threat to the Age of Fire, and that's why Gwen did what he did. So basically, this ring of fire will show up on some humans, and pretty much most of them, honestly. And it's known as the dark sign. This means they're agelessly immortal. Every time they die, they are resurrected. But this endless revival comes with the cost of their soul and their sanity. This is why they need white souls to keep themselves sane. Otherwise, they're going to become hollow, which is what happens when they go insane and they lose their soul. The ringed fire around the dark sign is a creation of the gods themselves, and it's constantly debated whether being human and trying to make so hard to maintain your soul is a good thing or a bad thing. Like, it's just constant big debate in Dark Souls.
You know what I say? I say hollowing equals 5 free level ups, which is A-okay.
Actually, that's the only game where following is good. Every other game is not. Yeah.
So basically, because of the curse, humanity needs a white soul to live, which is the ones you collect in the game. They need it separate from their humanity, and as long as they have it, they will remain sane and clear. But as the fire fades, the ring of fire around them fades, and their dark soul will try and eat their white soul, and that causes them to hollow. Every game has different ways to get rid of the hollowing, but basically hollowing makes you look like Nostradamus here, where you're all bony and weird. It's not good. At the point where the games start, most of humanity has never lived without this curse, so they kind of it's just part of life, and it kind of sucks.
The inevitability of like losing your memory, getting old and all that stuff, and Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
That's depressingly accurate.
But a lot more severe.
Oh, for sure. You know, like when you get old, you don't.
But this is like
raging, insane killing machine.
Yeah, but this is like super Alzheimer's.
Hollowing is the process of losing yourself. It's when you lose who you are and what you are, and it's not very good.
Yeah. I stand by what I said.
Yeah, no, you're correct. I just want to make sure I have my lore descriptions accurate. Fire linking is a ritual that preserves the first flame, which makes the curse easier to deal with because it means that your flame barrier around your dark soul won't leak and try and eat your white souls. It's a whole thing. And it also preserves the Age of Fire, which is very important to the gods. So Gwyn himself was the first one to link the fire. And yeah.
Who did the fan art?
I don't know. I found it on the internet.
We're gonna use their art then and get a bunch of money on this, right?
No, because I don't make money off Twitch yet. So
Yeah.
Mad respect to whoever made this. It's beautiful. But basically, the first flame receives a powerful soul when they link the fire. So basically, when you're linking the fire, you're giving the fire your soul that you've made super powerful through the process of the game, and then you the bonfire and the fire keepers take your soul, and it keeps the fire alive, which is good for the Age of Fire. These are fire keepers and bonfires. First and foremost, bonfires are just a checkpoint mechanic. Like they have lore to explain them, but at the end of the day, they exist to be a checkpoint mechanic. But the bonfires are fueled by the bones of your own kind. Very fun. They're undead fires. Basically, through the coiled swords that are stabbed in all of the fires, they create a network that we can travel between. The heat from those fires is, they're all connected to the first fire, so that's why the heat from those fires in particular heals our injuries and allows us to collect liquid estus from the heat of that fire. Light is tied with time, which allows us to warp between the fires. And the fire keepers are the women who are the living. Basically, they are the bonfire. As long as the bonfire's alive, she's alive. As long as she's alive, her bonfire's alive. They need each other. So the fire keepers receive dark scars and effects of the curse, causing them excruciating pain just for keeping the fire alive. They do this for us. They pretty much are sacrificing themselves. Their entire existence is to keep the first flame alive.
Another great fan art.
Yes, another great fan art. Fire and time are linked together. That's what allows us to travel between the bonfires, but also what allows us to see people from other worlds and show up in each other's worlds as spirits. It's all because time and fire are linked, and time is really weird in this game. Very weird, convoluted time mechanics in this game. Better if we don't think about it.
Pyromancers are awesome.
Yes. Magic allows you to travel between these worlds of spirits. Dark Souls 1. So basically, Dark Souls 1, you're the chosen undead. You need to link the fire. You gotta ring 2 bells to awaken Sen's Keep and defeat a golem, and then again, and then it's... Then you need to find Gwenevere to fill the Lord's vessel. I don't know why you need to do that, but you do. And you try and find her, and then she isn't fucking real because she's an illusion that Gwendolyn created, because fuck him. God damn, you know what? It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Then you fight Gwen, because fuck his children, apparently. And
Wait, what are you doing to his children?
nothing. It just, we hate them. You fight his children, you fight Gwen, and then you light the fire, or maybe not, because there's 2 endings to Dark Souls, but we'll get to that in a minute, apparently. Because we need to talk about how you reverse the hollowing, because it's different in each game. This is an action you can do at any bonfire, because you're just in constant state of hollowing in Dark Souls 1. So, yeah, it's just a constant problem. You need to have humanity, which you can get just as you get souls from the game. You take these humanity spirits, and you basically take your curse, and you put it on them for a little bit to restore your own humanity and keep your white souls safe.
And you need to have your humanity to do one for it.
Yeah.
So it works mechanically like the Embers in Dark Souls 3. With the extra health and everything. Except that when you're not, then your humanity is lost, and you still hollow as you all.
So it's like
Speak for yourselves. I didn't choose that route. There are 2 endings. You either become a Lord of Cinder or a Lord of Darkness. Lord of Cinder, you link the fire. You preserve the current state of the world, and you sacrifice yourself to the fire, and then leave the world as the Lord of Cinder, just as everyone has before you. You can also kill the fire, leave it to die, and let the universe take its natural course into an age of darkness. And then you are thus responsible for leading man through this age of darkness that you created. So, you become a Lord of Darkness. The very first one, actually. Dark Souls 2! Disclaimer, apparently everyone hates Dark Souls 2. It had a different creator and, team behind it than Dark Souls 1 and 3, and so everyone hates it. But we're still gonna talk about it.
Is it still canon?
It is still canon. So basically, you show up, you're mostly hollowed, you're the chosen undead again. You gotta unhollow your shit. It's very important you unhollow your shit. Because you're already almost hollowed and losing your sanity. It focuses on Dringlek? I don't know if I'm saying that right. But basically, that's a group of, important people, and you gotta fight them. It's a land. It's like a castle in a place, but you have to fight people from that place, and then, because they're trying to stop you from linking the fire. Or maybe you don't link the fire. But let's talk about hollowing again. You use a human effigy, which is, yes, you use a human effigy, and you transfer your curse on someone else.
Yeah.
I'm getting some witch doctor-y voodoo type vibes here. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. There are 2 endings. 2 of them are the same as game 1. You can kill the fire and become a Lord of Darkness, or you can save the fire and become a Lord of Cinder. Or Dark Souls 2 presents the option of living in the twilight. You pretty much kind of half-link the fire, from my understanding, and then leave the people in an age of twilight and just kind of vibe in an eternally cursed world. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are your options in Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 3, I think you're all familiar with here, but we're going to talk about it. It takes place in Lothric, which is a different place. It's a human kingdom that has been... Basically, the world's gone to shit when you show up in Dark Souls 3. It's not in a good time. Everything in Lothric is reduced to hollow. There are lots of dead bodies that are being reincarnated, and that's all the shit you gotta fight. And basically you're the Ashen One. So you gotta fix some shit. Yeah, you're a chosen undead who failed miserably, and you're fucking back. The world is suffering from an infestation of pus of man, which are these motherfuckers who want to fuck you in the ass. And not in the fun way before you ask, Parker. They're hollows who have been corrupted by the abyss, which is like, think of it like another plane. It's kind of just a place of darkness and bad things. But they're being corrupted by that, and some weird voodoo shit happens, and basically they're being eaten by this giant darkness, and you can see their little dark hollowed self underneath it. And it kind of sucks, and they, in the game, are very strong, and will fuck your shit up, and ruin your day. This is the Purging Monument. You can pay a bunch of souls here, and fix your hollowing, but in the lore, it is basically supposed to be one huge vessel where thousands upon thousands of hollowed individuals have desperately tried to get rid of their curse onto this mush of other human beings that is now so hollowed it's not even fucking alive. It's a little fucked up, just a tad. But we also have the Hollows of Wandor in Dark Souls 3, which is people who believe that being hollowed is the true state of man. And honestly, I kind of agree, but that's up to your mind. They believe that being hollowed is the honest state of man, and in order to remain sane as a hollow, they have to kill things and drain their life to remain sane. They look like this. We have some more great fan art that I did not make.
I gotta be honest, if they give me 3 levels, I'll be able to go on.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, I need to be... Listen, the best way to play this...
You are a whore for 3 level ups.
You know what? Listen, strength builds are expensive. There's a lot of souls that go into strength builds, okay?
A lot of souls go into every build, Parker.
Yeah, but like strength builds are the best, so they're the only ones that should be considered in this context.
Alright.
So that is debatable.
There are 4 endings to Dark Souls 3. You can link the fire, and you can link the fire, but it has less of an impact, probably because we're an Ashen One. And you basically continue the Age of Twilight and allow potential for someone else to come link the fire, which is great. We love that.
You're kind of just kicking the can down the road there.
Yeah, you kind of can kick the can down the road. You can kill the fire and learn that embers survive amongst those who linked the fire in the past. Age of Darkness, it's a whole great thing. You can use the dark of the curse to subsume the flame and lead the undead as the Lord of the Hollow.
How does one subsume a bit?
I don't know, but you can do it.
I think you just really misspelled consume.
I think I did just misspell consume. Yeah. I think it's supposed to be that you consume the flame.
No, it's the doom dimension.
I know, but like, making a joke about the
In my defense, there are 40 slides. There was bound to be some errors. But basically, you consume the flame and you lead the undead into the lord as a lord of Hollow, which is fun. Or you can kill your firekeeper, you smash your fucking head in, and then you take the fire and you book it, and you just have the fire for yourself, and you live happily ever after, but everyone else fucking dies.
Everyone else is already
it's the most selfish of all the options.
Yeah.
But also possibly the most fun. Interesting.
Dark Souls 3 is the end of the series, so we're gonna talk about how the series ends.
I'm sorry, there's not more? It's just the 3 and that's it? That's all you can get?
That's all we're getting. The world burns out again and again. That's inevitable. And the people of Ash arise. They're not the Ashen ones. They're just dead people who are arising in the form of Ash, kind of similar to the Ashen ones. And they're a new species, basically. And they kind of don't belong in this world. Because they're basically formed of thousands of failed people who failed at trying to link the fire and to exist in that world. They have more in common with the beings of the Painted World, which I didn't talk about, but briefly, the Painted World is a painting, a magical painting, made by the Nameless Painter, who then was used by all the lords to stick basically anything they didn't really like into. And
Hang on, just to be clear, this is different than Ariandel, the other.
no, Ariandel is the Painted World.
But James, you said there were 2.
Yep, we'll get to the second one. Ariandel is the first of the 2 Painted Worlds. It's the one we see in the DLC. It is a place where they put all the shit they don't like. So the Ashen one kind of have more... The Ash kind of have more in common with them than they do anything in the actual world. So... they fight to reunite the Dark Soul into one, and then paint a new world with it. So you need the Dark Soul to paint the new world. They paint themselves a new world. The Ashen Wasteland is the name of the second painting. And yes, the Ashen people, a slave knight called Gale, hollowed beyond belief, sacrifices himself to allow the painter to paint the new world. The Ashen Wasteland. And the Ashen Wasteland is cold and dark and gentle, and they would happily live there, and that is the end of the series. These are my sources. This was also peer reviewed by Jacob. So yeah, that's my. Yeah, we're not savages. Come on now.
We peer review our Mega Brain Monday presentation.
But yeah, any questions? That's my presentation on the lore of Dark Souls.
So, this isn't a question, but Dark Souls is donezo, but they've made quite a few games that are Souls-like. Like they made Sekiro, and they're making Elden Ring now.
Mm-hmm.
What about Bloodborne too? Yeah.
Bloodborne came out before Dark Souls did.
Oh no.
Bloodborne is older than Dark Souls 3.
So
Which
people
is
were
why
just like,
Dark
hey.
Souls 3 is a lot faster than 1 and 2.
People were just like, hey, yo, these are some good games. Can we have some more? And they're like, yes, and also yes.
Anyways, Elden Ring is the newest thing that Bandai Namco is like working on. It's supposed to be like Dark Souls, but it's also completely open world, which is awesome.
That's very.
It's also very easy to screw up because their whole thing is like difficulty by design and enemy placements and all that stuff. And it's hard to
Let's not cyberpunk this and let him have plenty of time to finish.
Oh yeah, no, I don't care when it comes out. I'm just excited when it does.
We'll just be hanging on in anticipation for forever, and that'll be okay.
When it's done, it'll be done.
That'll be. Best guess, James. What do you think? End of this year, end of next year, 3 years from now?
At least end of next year.
Well, we got something to look forward to then.
Well, on that note, that is my presentation on the lore of Dark Souls. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh, did we want to share about the charts, the magical, mystical?
Oh yeah, let me explain these charts behind me. Real quick. We have a star chart where we give each other stars. The black X's represent negative stars and or stars being removed. Parker is currently winning. He has a lot of stars. We have a chart of how many times we die in Dark Souls. Of the three of us here, James is currently doing the most. But our friend Jacob has the most total. And this is our chart of us all when we play Fortnite, what kind of kills and how many we get.
I'm still incredibly proud of my
your vehicle kill.
I'm still riding the high. I'm so proud of myself. Like that is how you should live Battle Royale. Just with maximum style possible.
Alright. On that note, I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you everyone for watching. And I will see you all on Wednesday. Don't worry, I've got the video, so I'll repost it and you can watch it.
Yes. Okay, I just got out of my my math tutoring appointment. Okay, I'm getting on the stream. Okay, I was literally
smartness.
Listen, I'm like, we're trying to figure out this trig equation, and like I get the little Discord notification. I'm like, oh, let me swipe this way. Let me this stop. Nope, I'm not a nerd.
Anyways, that's the end of the stream. So goodbye.
Bye.